Bine ați venit la ediția cu numărul 52 a Sibiu Web Meetup. Pentru cei care sunteți prima dată aici, eu sunt Ștefan, hostul și organizatorul acestui eveniment. Mă bucur să ne vedem. Avem aici și un invitat special, pe Fini, pe lângă Sasha. Sasha e un plus. Nu, e ok. Fini e vedeta în seara asta. Da, vorbim despre Designing for Trust în Web3 cu Sasha aici de față. Este ultimul eveniment pe anul acesta. E într-o locație așa mai excentrică, pentru că cei de la Astra, din păcate, nu ne mai primesc acolo. N-avem ce să facem. Asta este. Am să mai zic câteva cuvinte la final, dar o să predau cuvântul acum lui Sasha, după ce schimbăm aici chestiile.
Ok. Pot să dau față în spate să văd că merge? Nope. Am zis să testez cu tine, că de obicei am o problemă cu ele. De aia. Ok, am trecut peste problema scurtă tehnică, de fapt nici n-a fost o problemă. În primul rând, aș vrea să vă zic mulțumesc că ați venit aici. Ați ales să veniți să mă vedeți pe mine în loc să mergeți la acel târg de Crăciun extrem de frumos, așa că mulțumesc foarte mult. Știu cât de bun este vinul fiert, deci apreciez enorm. În al doilea rând, mai vreau să vă zic că o să țin în engleză prezentarea, pentru că jumătate din ea deja era făcută, am mai prezentat-o la Cannes, la ETHCC, și pentru că nu voiam să vă supun la o romgleză îngrozitoare, am decis că cred că e ok, toată lumea o să înțeleagă engleză. Putem să trecem ușor peste acest mic impediment. Și un alt lucru ar mai fi că vreau să nu fie gen, eu vă prezint și sunt aici speaker și voi mă ascultați. Nu. Vreau să mă opriți de fiecare dată când aveți o întrebare, pentru că o să fie destul de lungă prezentarea și ca să fie mai interactivă, sau dacă nu înțelegeți vreun termen, sunt foarte mulți termeni de Web3. Nu știu câți dintre voi sunteți familiari cu termenii. Prefer să mă întrebați direct, vă explic și aia trecem peste, ca să fim siguri că toată lumea înțelege și mesajul ajunge la toată lumea. Cool! Ok, then let's go head first. So, today we're going to talk about how individuals build trust, how the brain works, and where trust is built inside of the brain. We're going to talk about building trust through design, through transparency, through social proof and community, through protocol and team credibility, and we will also brush on risk management and caution. But what I would like you to know is that this is not a checklist. So if you're building a product, you don't have to check everything that I'm going to tell you. It's more like a guideline, something to look at and maybe try to implement some of the insights that you will see here. And I'm not trying to teach you how to do dark patterns. So, having this out of the way, let me introduce myself. I am Sasha Tanase Luca. I'm a product manager, a designer, and a researcher. I have worked in the past with Consensus, Meso Network, which is a Bitcoin layer 2. I worked with Threshold Network, Keep Network, and I am the co-founder of Web3 UX, which is one of the first Web3 user panels. You can see me there. This is how my colleagues are imagining that I come up with the insights from the users. So whenever I'm coming in and I'm telling them something from the users, probably this is how they see me. But I'm not doing that. No magic stuff, no reading in the globe, nothing whatsoever. So let's learn about how do individuals build trust. And first of all, in order to do that, I would like us to understand what is trust. And Cambridge Dictionary defines trust as the belief that you can trust someone or something to be honest or do what is right. And trust is quite abstract, and it's more like a blanket term, and it's quite multifaceted. So it can take different shapes. And for example, from the psychology standpoint, trust is the belief that others will act with good intent. From the standpoint of economy, trust is the expectation of a reliable behavior under risk. Trust from the design and UX standpoint is basically the confidence that a product will behave as expected. And from a sociology standpoint, it's the social glue that enables collaboration. But in everyday life, trust is basically the willingness to accept vulnerability based on the expectation that another person, a system, or outcome will behave in a reliable or non-harmful way. So let's say when someone is telling you something, you will just say, okay, I trust you. And that's it. In that moment, you have accepted that you're vulnerable and you have put your expectations and your trust and maybe your money into that person's hands. Well, in order to understand better how trust is built inside of the human mind, I would like us to look at Daniel Kahneman's, the Nobel Prize winner. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Yes, cool. Perfect. And basically, this is his definition of how the brain works and what is the way that we're passing judgment and what is our decision-making process. So he says, much of our thinking is done quickly and automatically, without conscious effort, while deliberate thinking requires attention that is effortful. So in order to, let's unpack this. Basically what he says is that the thinking is like a two system. It has system 1 and system 2. System 1 is fast, we're born with it, it's automatic, it's intuitive, and it relies on mental shortcuts. So I would like to give you maybe a more common example, so it's not as super theoretical and abstract. Let's say you're walking down the street and you see someone, and in a split of a second you feel like it's shady, and you will walk away from that person. And this is system 1. Or the fact that we're afraid of snakes. Nobody, probably a lot of you are afraid of snakes or afraid of, I don't know, spiders or stuff like that. And this is basically something that was past. You were born with it and you do not know why, but you're afraid of it. So this is system 1. Whereas system 2 is slow. It's done only when we cannot do this type of snap judgments where you're like, oh, this is shady, or oh, this is uncanny, I need to walk away. And introduces deliberation and logic into our thinking and takes a lot of brain bandwidth. So imagine if we were to think thoroughly every decision that we take. It would be like we would probably end up in a total coma. All of the time we would be burned of like, should I do this? What does this imply? And this is why we have the system 1, where we're just doing snap judgments and it's super easy. Sometimes it may lie to us, the brain, because it likes to take mental shortcuts, and those are called cognitive biases. But we're not talking about them today, but just so you know, it's important to know about them. So let's learn a little bit about where does trust and intuition form. So we talked about system 1, the snap judgment that is like super fast, and we talked about system 2. So trust is formed in system 1 and only sometimes is reviewed by system 2. So it begins as an automatic feeling of confidence or comfort, and only later, if ever, gets rational scrutiny. So for example, if you go to a doctor and you're expecting, right, a doctor in order to give you confidence in its practice, needs to be sparkly shine, needs to be super confident to tell you exactly what happens and know everything. But imagine if you would go to a doctor and they're like dirty, their office is dirty and everything like that. You will pass judgment instantly and will be like, nope, I won't believe this person. So that's something that also happens with products as well. They can be doctors or they can be products. People pass the same type of judgment and they go through the same routes on and on and on. So in order to look at it as a step-by-step, first thing, system 1 produces an immediate impression. So it's more like, this feels right, this looks safe, I've seen this before, so I'm comfortable, I know what's happening, I have seen the patterns, I have an expectation, this should be okay. And these impressions are fast, emotional, and effortless. And then this impression is experienced as trust. So coherence feels like truth, familiarity feels like safety, fluency feels like competence. And only sometimes, as I was saying, system 2 may step in, and most of the time steps in only to justify the feeling, to post-rationalize it, and rarely to override it. So system 2 is lazy and often accepts systems 1 output without challenge, because it's easier, and we're all lazy. So how do users build trust with Web3 products, right? Web3, woo, scams, woo. So you don't have to take my word. What I'm going to tell you is insights that are based on 4 years of research. Me and my team have talked with lots of people who have been exposed to Web3, either exposed to DeFi or bridges or staking or network securing. So a lot of type of Web3 actions. And we have talked to around 150 people, and we saw the same pattern over and over and over and over again. Everyone was afraid of losing their funds. Like, in the end, it was more about fear. Everyone is fearful. And whenever you build in Web3, you have to think about this first of all. So, trust is the hardest earned currency in Web3. Why? Because Bitcoin is mined, Ether is staked, but trust needs to be earned. And yes, Web3 may be trustless by architecture, but it still depends on trust by experience. And here, a participant said, with Bitcoin and Ether, I'm thinking multiple times before doing anything with it. And you have to understand that these people are holding religiously to their funds. These are their gray pound, their bet for a better life. And this is not something that happens only in Web3. It's actually happening in, we can extrapolate to any type of product that implies funds, finances, money. And the way to build trust can be harder based on how much funds are going to be involved. But building trust is also with services. So it's not only about money. It needs to be an outcome that is extremely feared, and it has to have a big impact on that person's life. So let's talk about visual and UX trust signals. If it was built hasty and looks bad, I won't feel comfortable to put my money in it. It is definitely a scam. And everything that you see in scarlet, and it's in quotes, there are basically verbatims from our interviews. So this is what real people are saying. So first impressions matter. As a user, when I first land on a DeFi or Web3 protocols website, I want to quickly get a sense of whether it looks legit, so I can avoid wasting time or exposing myself to a scam. So visual impressions are treated as legitimacy signals. Users make snap decisions based on design polish and visual clarity before learning of the mechanism underneath. So they don't care about your protocol, how it works, about your smart contract or backend code or whatever. If your site looks not so well polished, it looked like it was just like slapped together. So these are the design implications for you to build trust and give the right UX signals. You have to prioritize clean, calm, and consistent visuals. Treat visual polish as a core trust signal, not a nice to have. Avoid dark patterns like oversized APY banners or meme token language, Solana. Use ample white space, minimal copy, and frictionless micro interactions. So these are some examples of what I would say are good UX trust signals. So on the left side, I'm sorry, they're very small. On the left side, we have the Zapper product. I don't know how many of you know about it. It's an aggregator. And it has a very clean design, no hype. It loads super fast. And you have immediate visual credibility. On the right side, this is a swap product, like exchanging one currency to another. And you can see it has very clear and simple flows. It has clear labels, prioritizes clarity over complexity. So it's super, super easy to understand from the start what you need to do. You input one currency, this is what you get, connect wallet, and then you swap. So let's see what trust through transparency and verifiability means. Proof of reserves, having on-chain verifiable proof of reserves. That would be one thing for me. This is convincing me. And real proof builds real confidence. As a user, when I'm considering putting funds into a protocol, I want to see audits, proof of reserves, and real on-chain data, so I can feel confident that my money isn't going to disappear. When I'm talking about audits here, I'm talking about smart contract audits, which means that someone has looked through the code before it was pushed in production, pushed on the network, and they've seen and checked all the points where the contract can be exploitable or it can be vulnerable. And this gives people a sense of confidence that the product they're going to put money into is not going to be hacked the next minute it's on. So this is what it is about. And in Web3, audits are like extremely important. So verifiability matters more than promises, and users don't want to believe you because you're, I don't know, nice. They want to verify you. So audits, on-chain proofs, GitHub repos, of course, open source. Open source is super important, and smart contract transparency are key. Missing links are red flags. And I'm not sure if open source is necessarily like a paramount for trust in Web 2, but in Web 3 it's extremely important that you put your code out there and anyone can look at it. So, design implications. View on Etherscan links or other block explorers, verified audit badges with links to reports, real-time dashboard integrations like Dune, DBank, DeFi Llama, contract transparency via GitHub or Explorer, and DAO treasury breakdowns. So, here on the left side, we can see the Meso Dune dashboard. These are basically public on-chain metrics anyone can look at. And what they're saying there is that this is a total value lock in our protocol. It's real, it exists. We're not lying to you on the website. You can check it on the public network, it exists. This is verifiability through transparent user activity. And on the right side, we have Lido, which is a staking protocol it started as a staking protocol for Ethereum. And they have very clearly put here all their audits. All of these here are their audits, which are like a lot, given the fact that, think about it, an audit is around 80K. So they really put a lot of money into their building their trust. So they have public audits, on-chain validator stats, so they're not invented, and open protocol data that can be checked by anyone. Also, trust through transparency doesn't mean only stats and numbers on chain. This also translates into the interaction and the flow a user has on your product. And this example here is taken from the TBTC bridge. This bridge is basically moving your Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network to the Ethereum network. And in order for you to feel more comfortable, it shows you all the steps that are being taken and everything that is happening under the hood. You have all the transactions that can be verified one by one. On the right side, there are links. So it shows the conversion process transparently and in real time, so it doesn't leave the user looking at a loading bar forever and ever and just thinking, what's going on with my money for 4 hours? Okay, let's talk about social proof and community endorsement. Most of the projects I use are recommended by someone I trust. How many of you have ran into products that were, or how many of you are using products that were recommended by maybe someone who is from your inner circle, or I don't know, a significant other or something? A lot of you. I do the same. Every time I want to do something, I go check with my husband, and I'm like, hey, have you heard about this protocol?
Have someone to blame afterwards.
Right? It's perfect. Never take responsibility. Always throw accountability to somebody else. This is how we progress, right? So most of the projects I use are recommended by someone I trust. And trust is something social. As a user, when I'm looking into a new crypto product, I want to hear about it from people I trust, so I can skip the sketchy stuff and go straight to what works. And there is, when I first started in 2018, when I started working in Web3, I remember I was talking to a person, I was interviewing a participant, and we were talking about Aave. How many of you have heard about Aave? Okay, cool. And back then, Aave was quite small. It wasn't the behemoth it is today. And I remember we were talking about protocols that he feels like they're trustworthy. And he told me, well, he really, really trusts Aave because he met the founders at a conference, and they're very nice people. So, you know, it's like baffling. But people are actually taking this type of decisions with their money. They're like, I'm looking at you. You seem like a nice developer that won't run away with my money. So here's this bag. this is how people are taking decisions. So users rely on social proximity, not just marketing. Maybe marketing, but if you're taking into account micro-influencers, there are things called squad goals. And basically, there are mini influencers in small communities that are just coming with the alpha, and then they're delegating tasks to their other people from their inner circle. Like, you're going to research the way the protocol works. You're going to read everything from the white paper. You're going to read and follow everything from their Discord. And this is how people are working on their trust. So they're not relying only on marketing. They also rely on social proximity. And most discover and adopt protocols through trusted recommendations from friends, influencers, or shared DAOs. How many people know what a DAO is? Okay, it's perfect. It's called, it means a decentralized autonomous organization. So imagine it's just like a chape, if you remember, where people were putting money together or things like that. They have...
It was cabbage. It was cabbage on communist.
Cabbage, tokens, you know, same. Times changed, value remains the same. So basically, it's.
Chapeau.
Yeah, so the CB are still being used in France.
Oh.
They put basically resources together.
Okay.
Something happens in Germany, but
This is so. It's basically just like a kibbutz, maybe. But what DAO? I'm joking. It's not like a kibbutz or like a chape, but it's a decentralized autonomous organization where nobody, like there is no one individual that has power over the treasury of this DAO. So in order to make a financial move or to move funds from this wallet to another or whatever, it needs to be at least 8 people to agree on it. So it's safer, it's smaller, it's more like maybe a nice way of democracy, maybe. They also do votes, but...
It's 8 like an arbitrary number, or it's...
No, you can set it up, because it's called like it's a multi-sig and you can set up, but it's at least 7.
Okay.
So,
like
and
that's
yeah. Okay, so going back to the design implications for the fact that trust is also built through social proximity. Build for social referral pathways like trusted Web3 community members who have a solid reputation on social media platforms. And in Web3 influencers are not maybe like in Web2 where they sell their souls for a Big Mac. It's the moment people have caught you red-handed, it's done. Your career is done and nobody will look at you. So for them it's very, very important to not stain their reputation. The moment they stake their reputation for a protocol, they need to have, in a way, skin in the game. And they have skin in the game because there is their reputation. So this is why some of the people will be like, oh, Sasal, which is, for example, one Web3 influencer. Oh, Sasal has vouched for this. So, oh, it must be important because he never vouched for a scam. So from experience and from the fact that he's like unstained, we will trust it. Display TVL, total value locked, it means that all the money that were put in that protocol. Display TVL, number of wallets, and other adoption proofing stats. Make it easy to see who else uses the product. Use community anchored language, not just corporate voice, which means try to speak like your users and don't put yourself on a high horse and use the corpo language that nobody understands. So try to do a little bit of UX writing there. And the most important, as I have told you about earlier with the guy with the Aave, who was trusting them because they're nice and I met them, have conference presence. Like have an evangelist and talk directly to people, make yourself known. It's super important to make sure that future users or current users have access to your team and they will be able to talk directly to them every now and then. So I'm not saying to put them on a non-stop call so they will have a hotline. No, but what I'm saying, every now and then make meetups and show up and talk to people and let them meet you and see that you're real and you don't have bad intentions. Okay, and here we have some social proofing. In this case, on the left side, we have clear TVL, the total value locked, like how much money was that put in that protocol. And then you can very easily see the addresses. So if you want to go and check, you can check that are like, I don't know, thousands of addresses, and that TVL wasn't just put by a whale, and it's like, in the end, 3 wallets. So, not good. On the right side is an example from Aave, and they have clear TVL and easily accessible protocol history. So if you want to read about Aave by numbers and everything, you can go and become a little bookworm, the sleuth. By the way, Sasal, I was telling you about influencers on chain and how they stake or don't stake their reputation. This guy has an impeccable reputation, and in this example, he was promoting Celo network on his social platforms, and through podcasts and whatever other platforms he has. And Celo is still out there, Sasal is still trustworthy. But it's super important to try to look them up. It's not like the guy who came in and I don't know if you guys know, but it's like a meme with the guy who screams on the stage, BitConnect, and then BitConnect went to shit. Okay, it's not like that. So, okay, and on the right side, we have Meso Network, and they have very clear community-anchored language. They're not talking only in corpo or super techie type of language, and they have very down-to-earth written explanations. So maybe my mom wouldn't understand, but most of the people would. So protocol and team reputation. This is something that is super important, and it builds trust. And it's important in Web3 because there are projects where the founders have just one day have left and ran with the money. So people want to know what's happening, if there were hacks before, if like what products they did, and maybe they did that. So they want to know about everything. So has there been an exploit? Has there been a hack? Is the team good? Did they had other successful products to prove they're trustworthy? What's their pedigree? Pedigree, so important. So people want to know who's behind this. As a user, when I'm putting my Bitcoin or stable coins at risk, I want to know who's behind the protocol, so I can trust that they're accountable before I commit serious funds. And reputation lives in protocol history. So users evaluate teams and projects based on past performance, incident transparency, and recovery behavior. An anonymous or silent team signals risk. So I can give you here some stories about people who suffered from hacks. Like they lost money because of hacks that happened to protocols. And one of them was really interesting because he said, Well, I lost a lot of money in the protocol. And the team was super transparent. The hack happened. It took them, I don't remember, I think 1 week. They have published a post-mortem. They said what happened. They made us understand. They tried to recover the funds. And then one of them, we don't know, word says that it was Vitalik, but we never know, came in and just like made sure that everyone got their money back. So people will remember, and even this type of things happen, they won't necessarily nail you to the wall, and they won't say that you're horrible. But if a hack happens, and this can happen in this space, it's very important to make sure that you're transparent and you explain what was wrong. And be transparent. Don't just like try to avoid any questions. So, highlight team experience, track record, and response to past issues. Use public change logs, transparency reports, and post-mortems. Avoid hiding behind vague or overly anonymous branding. Showcase your investors or other teams who have associated with you, and display protocols that are integrated with you. So validation is basically, in this case, is trust by association. So if I have a protocol and Aave, because I talked about Aave, it is like a very old and very big protocol, will associate and with me and integrate with me. From the get-go, I will get a lot of trust. So these are like teams, and it's very important to show their profiles and show faces and make sure that people have like GitHubs and you can go and check what's happening and see what's their pedigree, and don't keep them behind closed doors. So emotional trust behavior. I usually start with a small amount so that I can see how things work out. If anything goes wrong, I do not lose a lot. And this is a pattern that I've seen only in Web3. So what does it mean is that when a user finds a new protocol and they've done all their desk research, they went through their marketing website, they said, okay, check. They went and learned about their audits, check, check, check. They will still put you to test, and they won't from the start have like all of the trust. So some of the users will come in and just put a little money in your protocol and then wait. Some of them can wait for 1 year. It's not very clear, so it's not an exact duration or period of time for which they are waiting. But most of them are putting small amounts and then coming back. If they are like, when they're doing this, they're testing flows, UX, UI, if it's very clear what's happening, how the rewards are working, all of that. So they're testing you and they're putting a small amount that won't affect their wallet in any way. And you will see if you go on chain and look at like Dune Analytics, most of the protocols have like small amounts. People are coming, putting like a little bit, and then you will see more. And this keeps on happening a lot. I'm super curious if it happens in Web2. If you guys have any example of this, I would love to hear it. But for me, this was like completely interesting to learn about. So start small, then scale. As a user, when I try a protocol for the first time, I want to use a small amount of funds so I can test the waters without risking much. Users intentionally limit exposure during first use, sending small test transactions to probe safety, and this is their strategy. It's not fearful, it's their strategy to mitigate risk. So, support low-stakes testing paths, like, for example, support testnet, support $1 flows, have simulations and sandboxes, so people get accustomed and familiar and don't feel like, oh, what's happening in this step? What if I click something wrong, my money will disappear? Make testnet tokens tabs easily accessible, surface confirmation and recap screens before commits. This is basically a design heuristic. It's error prevention. Provide contextual reassurance, gas costs, expected sums, expected outcomes. Don't take people by surprise. Nobody likes that. Display what are the steps and number of transactions before the flow starts. Allow low-risk onboarding experiences and show clear boundaries between risk levels. So here we have Meso, and they make testnet tokens super accessible and easily accessible. Everyone who is interacting with the network will get some testnet tokens, and this way you have low-risk onboarding options. Here, this is like an error prevention example. It's from the threshold network. Yes. And it sets up outcomes and expectations before the user commits, provides an easy way out. So before I start minting, I'm shown what's the minted amount, what's the Ethereum gas cost, the estimated, because you cannot know for sure, but it's an estimation. What's the miner fee, what's the network fee, what's the ETH address. So everything is very, very clear, and I know beforehand, before I pull the trigger, I have all the information that I need in order to either continue or back out. So, risk perception and fear. Bridging experience is usually scary. Now, bridges in Web3 are like the scariest thing ever. If you will ever work in Web3 and you will build a bridge, it will be very hard for you. You will have a very hard life. So this person says you have to sit in front of the computer and pray that nothing wrong will happen to your funds. So as a user, when I'm using a bridge or staking my Bitcoin, I want to be warned about risks and technical steps so I don't lose funds due to unclear flows or unexpected outcomes. I want to add something like a detail about Web3. If you're sending your tokens, ledgers and networks like Ethereum or Bitcoin are irreversible. So if you're sending funds to an incorrect address, it's done. Nobody will be able to reverse it. So it's very, very important to make sure that people don't make this mistake. I know it sounds like everybody can take care of it, but it's not like if you're sending money from your bank account to a wrong bank account, you're using a wrong IBAN, chances are you will get your money back. In Web3, it's done. It's done. So it's important for you to make sure you help the people not do stupid mistakes. So bridges, swaps, and L2 introduce high perceived risk. If something feels unclear or untrackable, users assume it's unsafe, even if it's technical secure. So technical security, in order to understand that, you need to have technical knowledge. So that is somehow in the background. It's much more important to make sure that people understand how the protocol works, what's the flow, and what are the steps, rather than just like, yeah, it's super secure, but nobody uses it because it's too complex and they don't understand. So show transaction status clearly with live feedback. Clarify what chain, what contract, what step, what address. Avoid vague loading states or ambiguous outcomes. Set clear expectations and give truthful time estimates. Be upfront about risks. Explain reward mechanics clearly and avoid overpromising copies and too good to be true slogans like there was a product that for a little while had a slogan that was saying, buy now, pay never. Okay. So this is an example from the Meso borrow feature. This is what it gives you. This is a transaction receipt, and it gives you very clear. I know it's like a lot of information, but it's a very clear transaction information. So you can check everything, and you know everything, what's happening before you commit. Here, it's also from Meso, and you have upfrontness on the risks and caters to every user risk profile. And what it means, it's basically it helps you understand that if you're adding, it is about the collateral. Collateral, you know what collateral is. It's just like I'm putting my house in order to make sure that the bank will give me money. Same here, but I'm not putting my house. And it says that between 150 and over 240%, this will be a medium risk. And if you put 240 to 400, you have very low risk. So you won't get to be liquidated. And it's super good because it tells you what's happening and how to, if maybe you don't want to take huge risks, it will put your mind to ease if you know what to do. You don't have to guess. And learning, research, and education, this is what you need to do as a product for your users. So I read everything before doing anything. Even if it will take me hours, I like to do my due diligence. So make it understandable. As a user, when I'm deciding whether to use a new protocol, I want to read documentation that makes sense, written in plain language, so I don't feel like I need to be a dev to understand it. I want contextual help and tooltips. Yay! So education is armor. Users conduct deep research before committing assets, and poor documentation, complex jargon, or missing context actively repel trust. Good content is not just design, but also good UX writing. So make them understand what you're doing there. So offer layered educational content, beginner to advanced. Use in-context tooltips, models, and links inside the UI. Write for real humans, not only Solidity, Rust, and whatever other language devs. Embed product education in the UI, build onboarding with step-by-step confidence boosts, and use progressive disclosure. So don't just like put a wheelbarrow of knowledge on that person right from the get-go and then load them cognitively. Hold users' hands and you won't regret it. And on the left side is Xerion. They have easily accessible educational materials and they have very low cognitive load. On the right side is Pawn Finance. It's a P2P lending platform, and they have a very beautiful page with that works as a single source of truth, and they have all their education materials aggregated there. So this is quite cool. I know it sounds like common sense what I'm presenting you, but a lot of products don't put this effort into doing this. And this is Meso user documentation. It's written for super normal humans, and it also offers a complete walkthrough. So I promise this is the last slide. I know, it's been a journey to all of us. Well, thank you. We will play a game afterwards, and we will see how much you trust me. So the trust journey. Well, trust is an arc. It starts with discovery, where people are asking themselves, is this real or a scam farm? Then afterwards, if you go, they trust you from there, they will go to research. Can I verify this myself? And then they will learn and then look in all of the nooks and crannies of your protocol. And when they are convinced, they will go and do the first use, which is the test transaction that I was talking about. And afterwards, after they are waiting for, I don't know, 1 month, 1 year, whatever how long they need to be convinced, they will come back and do, this is what we want, continued use. So even then, they will be like, oh yeah, this is cool, but is this stable? And what we're all aiming for as products is to gain users that are loyal and that they will do advocacy for you. So they will share it with their friends, they will go and convince other people at meetups, at conferences, and they're not paid. They're just hyped and they were convinced and they trust you. So trust isn't a feature, trust is the product. And now I would like to play a little game with you. And it's called 3 Truths, 1 Lie. And I'm going to tell you 3 truths and 1 lie. And I would like to hear from you which one you think is the truth. Like, which one do you think is the lie? Okay, so I will start. I am a Pilates instructor. I've put in 800 hours. I have placed twice as first place with my dog at obedience competitions. I am a big esports fan, and my favorite team is Twisted Minds. And I'm a big fan of anime, and I do cosplay. So, which one do you think is the lie?
Nobody likes anime.
Jail! Straight to jail. Okay, anyone else who could think that? Which one do you think is the lie? And it's okay.
Last one.
Last one? The anime one with cosplay? Okay.
I think it's the Pilates one or the dog one.
Okay.
It was actually very nice, so I just...
Okay, interesting. And the Pilates one, why do you think it's a lie? I'm curious.
You're too skinny.
That's the Pilates body.
This is an
I don't know, why did you went for that one first?
What has Pilates to do with web3?
It's sport. It's mens sana in corpore sano. I'm joking as well. Anyone else?
So you said you like esports games?
Yeah.
Name every single esport game.
Like first-person shooters or also strategy? Okay. Okay, Stefan, I want another talk. Sign me up for a new talk.
already named one.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
The dog one.
The dog one. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Also?
I think it's the Pilates because I think you mentioned that you put in 800.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So if nobody else wants to pitch in with what they think is the lie, it was the Pilates one. I go to Pilates, but I would never be an instructor. So.
You know why I said it was the Pilates? Because you have said it first, and when we want to tell a lie, we said it first so that we don't forget what we want
Yeah,
to say.
there you go, there you go. This is what I wanted to hear, the process. Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. If you have any questions, shoot. If not, thank you for coming. Da, scuze. Scuze, poți să vorbești și română, nu e problemă.
Ce te ocupi în compania de UX, web3 UX?
Sunt founderul. Ce fac în compania aia? Ce face compania? Research. Da, există un user panel Și există niște researcheri și pentru că foarte mult timp în piața asta nu prea existau participanți, foarte greu să găsești, am zis, hei, hai să facem acest user panel. Și avem acest user panel, da. Și practic researcherii care sunt...
Poți să ne arăți un demo sau?
Nu. Nu am ce demo să vă arăt, nu e. Da, nu e niciun super produs. E foarte simplu. Există researcheri și există participanți care vor să fie plătiți. I marry them.
Și consultanță?
Poftim?
Consultanță.
Adică dacă facem și research noi,
Da.
facem și research noi. Da. Alte întrebări? Da.
E end-userul tipic, genul de om care o să se uite prin documentație, o să se uite pe repo-ul de GitHub să vadă ce e acolo, să facă tot research ăsta, să vadă dacă să-și pună bani.
Nu toți și sunt tier levels, adică e în funcție de câți bani urmează să pună acolo. Și foarte mulți zic ceva, dar fac altceva. Adică cam asta se întâmplă cu toți oamenii. Zic una și fac alta și foarte mulți zic, da, ne pasă să fie descentralizat și au toate wallet-urile în Kraken sau în Coinbase. Deci, unii citesc. Dar, să zicem, unii citesc white paper-ul. Pe ăia o să-i convingi cu asta. Alții stau și se uită la tot site-ul tău de marketing și timp de o lună verifică cine a pus bani în protocolul ăsta. Deci o să ai tot felul. Nu? Eu ce v-am prezentat, nu o să fie nimeni care face toate chestiile astea. Astea sunt ce am observat eu, dar nu e un user, un tip de user. Fiecare face alte lucruri. Și cum îți ziceam, mai devreme cu squad goals, cu grupulețele astea de 4, 5, 6 persoane, unul se uită pe GitHub repo că ăla înțelege cod. Eu dacă m-aș uita, aș fi, da, super clean. Și atât. Altul se uită pe white paper, altul stă și citește cum funcționează protocolul și ce li se spune acolo. Adică sunt foarte împărțite așa, pentru că e foarte mult, learning curve-ul e foarte abrupt. Nu știu cum se zice în română learning curve, așa că scuze. Și de asta, de obicei, poftim curba învățării, mersi. Curba învățării este foarte abruptă și de-aia oamenilor le este mai ușor să se ocupe de ce cunosc ei și apoi, pentru că am încredere, să zicem, în cealaltă persoană, fiecare o să se ocupe de la ce se pricepe mai bine. Nu știu, poate ai un prieten care e economist și o să-ți citească token economics-ul și o să înțeleagă el lucrurile alea și o să zică, e cam ciudat cum fac ăștia bani, din ce fac bani. Da.
A fost un proiect care te-a convins să investești și să fie scam?
Scam? Nu. Eu sunt, ca profil, că sunt user de Web3 și eu. Eu sunt cel mai low risk și risk averse. Deci sunt...
Nu ai investit în nimic.
Tu prin investiție te referi la cumpărat?
Da.
Token? Îmi țin toți banii în Ether. Și maxim ce am făcut, am făcut staking. Asta a fost maximum cel mai crazy și am mai avut niște tokeni pentru un network din ăsta criptografic și am avut un nod, am rulat un nod pentru ei. A fost un nod destul de mare, dar cam atâta. Nu știu. Sunt foarte risk averse eu. Și de-aia înțeleg foarte bine pe oamenii care sunt și ei risk averse și înțeleg de ce unii dintre ei nu vor să facă lucruri de genul ăsta. Deci asta zic. Ba da, am pățit. Ba da, uite, mint. Mi-a plăcut, se numea Indexed Finance și practic erau primii, până să apară ETF-urile, erau primii care tokenii lor erau niște indexe de alți tokeni. Foarte cool proiect, foarte cool proiect. Am cumpărat foarte mult. Țin minte că am avut airdrop de la Uniswap, au însemnat cam vreo 10 Ether pe vremea aia în 2020. I-am schimbat pe toți în index. To the moon! Și aveam super încredere în proiect și au avut un hack. Și s-au dus banii naibii. Dar nu, adică, uite, de exemplu, eu nu am simțit că e vina oamenilor care au construit. Sunt chestii care se întâmplă, iar problema cu protocoalele astea și cu auditurile este că cei care vin și auditează, să zicem, au maxim 4 săptămâni să găsească toate problemele posibile. Un hacker are ani de zile la dispoziție și face numai asta. Deci, nu, asta e. Tot timpul, adică pentru mine, dacă vreau să mă asigur că nu pierd, o să-mi țin pe ledger undeva, într-un cold wallet, banii și știu că probabil nu o să pățească nimic. Da, nu știu, not financial advice. Nu e. Fiecare are feluri diferite de a interacționa. Ok. Ok, mersi mult. Ciao. Putem să vorbim și mai încolo. Am obosit un pic. Am un microfon. Mulțumesc foarte mult. Da, te rog, ca să nu mai...
L-am pus pe mut. Nu m-am mai zic eu câteva cuvinte acum la final. Stai să și pun proiectorul ăsta. Așa, da, ok, merge. Bun, super. Da, ultimul pe anul ăsta. Ne vedem în ianuarie. Am plănuit și cel din ianuarie. Vorbim despre testare, dar testare din punct de vedere al developerului, nu din punct de vedere al unui QA. Deci, sigur o să vă placă ăla. Nu. Nu. Absolut deloc. Da. Dacă aveți topicuri și vreți să vorbiți aici în față, nu neapărat aici, dar și la Astra unde mai ținem, vă invit să intrați pe sibiuwebmeetup.org, că acolo e toată informația. Dacă aveți prieteni, colegi care nu au apucat să vină astăzi, o să pun înregistrarea prezentării lui Sasha pe YouTube ulterior. Și cam atât am avut de spus. Mulțumesc că ați venit. Sărbători fericite și să ne vedem cu bine noul an. O seară faină!